Hey everyone, and welcome to the Perfect Bite podcast, your fusion of food and entrepreneurship. You'll hear stories from chefs, restaurateurs, CPG brands, and more from the food and bev industry. All of them are at different points in their journeys, talking about their experiences and how they've cooked up something new. Let's dig in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Perfect Bite podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Perkins. Have you ever heard of a Chicago-style bagel? Well, thanks to Tilly Bagel, now you can have those. And I'm telling you, they're coming for New York's crown. From a pastry chef and an architect, Tilly Bagel is continuing to grow its empire, kind of like the yeast in their beautiful bagels. Please welcome owners Hannah Tillet-Banaszak and Mike Banaszak. Hi, guys.
Hey, no, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you both. I'm usually seeing you at a counter or at
Right.
the house. Here you are in your gorgeous home. You're back home. I was going to say, you just closed up shop a little bit ago, right?
Yes, yeah, we just got home 30 minutes ago, and we got home like 5 minutes ago.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I can't wait for everyone to hear about your story, how you got started, and all of these incredible bites and bagels that you can have at Tilly Bagel. So let's kick things off by taking things way back to childhood. When did both of you realize you loved food? Any first bites when you were a kid that were just really special?
Yeah, growing up, my mom cooked like every meal. So I kind of learned the ins and outs of cooking from her originally. Every night she would make something from scratch. Even if it was cube steak, she made a lot. I don't know if that's a thing here in Chicago. It's called cube steak. She used to make it all the time. But anyway, it's like ground steak. But it was good. So she used to cook all the time, bake, the whole thing. And then me personally, I started watching the Food Network a lot in high school. It was like middle school, high school. I was obsessed with the Food Network, specifically Ace of Cakes with Duff Goldman. I was obsessed. And there was a time in my life for a while that I wanted to be a cake decorator. So that's like the first things for food. I used to fall asleep to watching like Iron Chef. I was just like obsessed with all the food shows, really.
I love that.
Yeah, for me, it's more, I don't necessarily make, or I'm not a chef. I'm not really good at making food, but I'm really good at being the taste tester. Growing up, I've always just kind of tried different things and been adventurous and just exploring like foods that you wouldn't normally try. But I think I still default to my favorite foods as a kid are the same as like right now as an adult. And those are just like simple things like pizza and chicken fingers. So, I just try to keep it simple, but I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm Midwestern.
Important food groups, I will have to say.
Right,
especially, did both of you grow up in the Midwest?
No, I'm from Florida originally. So I moved here like 10 years ago, but I'm from like Central Florida.
Yeah, I'm from the suburbs, like an hour west, basically, of Chicago, but been downtown for 15-ish years now.
I mean, you're both bona fide Chicagoans. You've been there for a decade plus. And like you said, Mike, that means that we all have extreme opinions when it comes to pizza.
Yeah, right.
Pizza snobs. And, I always like to say Chicago-style pizza is not deep dish pizza. That is a special occasion pizza.
Mm-hmm.
That's really when for family comes into town. Most of the time, it's a good party cut, at least on my end.
Yeah, I would say it's like once a year occasion type of thing for us, and it's not usually something that by choice for us.
We have a yearly tradition for Valentine's Day. We get a heart-shaped deep dish pizza every year.
Maybe that's what led into the heart-shaped bagels.
Well, I can't wait for everyone to hear all about that. Mike, I have to say too, taste tester is extremely important.
That's what I tell myself.
The product can't go out to people unless it's, got someone who's really signing off on it.
Yeah, it's a hard job, but I'm up to the task.
You and your stomach. So let's take a step forward from there. Maybe we'll start with Hannah here. Talk to us about how you first got into the culinary arts. What was really that aha moment that made you say that you wanted to give this a shot as a career?
Yeah, so it goes back to in high school. There's 2 high schools in my hometown. So I went to one for freshman, sophomore year. And then the other high school in my town, they had a culinary arts program. So I told my mom, I was like, I need to transfer high schools to go to this one to do the culinary arts. because I was, really into the Food Network and all those shows. I was like, I want to do this. So I transferred high schools, thankfully, and started doing the culinary classes there. And it wasn't like your like typical like home ec class. Like it was like a culinary class. Like we had a full kitchen. The chef used to own a restaurant. It was like a legit thing. So I did that for my junior, senior year in high school, and then ended up going to college for baking and pastry. So I did just a 2-year program at Valencia College. It's near UCF in Orlando. So I did pastry management there. And then after that, I started working at the resorts near Disney for a while. And that was fun. Learned a lot about like high volume production. I mean, Disney, like you can definitely picture just the amount of people and all the parties and all of that. And then I moved here. That's like the origin.
The full origin story from there. And so quick question about doing high volume pastries like that. What kind were you making in that area? What were the things that you were learning that you're like, I gotta move quick on this?
Yeah. So it was at the Hyatt Grand Cypress, which is a huge resort there. So we did a lot of banquets with weddings, and I worked like every station in the bakery area. I'd worked like the morning time, which did pastries for the breakfast buffet and all of that. And then I worked at night too, doing the desserts for room service, like the restaurants that were all in the resort. And then at the end of my time there, I did the overnight baking. So that basically like preparing everything for the breakfast buffets that next morning. So that's where I got my foot in the door with the overnight shift, which I do now sometimes still.
You learned how to not sleep, basically.
Yeah. Thankfully, I was young at the time.
You're still young. Love that. And Mike, how about you? You are an architect by trade before diving Tilly.
I've always been interested in buildings and just like the complexity of projects and like how all the pieces go together. It's very fulfilling to like work on something, and then after a few years of all the planning and execution, you just finally see that finished product, and seeing people interacting and being in and out of the building. A lot of times like a building is like a backdrop for just like what people are doing, in front of or around a building. But I always just like the idea of how architecture like affects your day to day and like what it can do for your mood, and just like what different things that can be done to help improve, I don't know, the environment. So I've always gravitated towards cities. Luckily, I was born like an hour away from Chicago and then just moved downtown for college. I went to IIT about 10 years ago. So I did a 5-year program there. And then I've been working in the city since at various sized firms, started with smaller projects and then moved on ultimately to doing like complex, like high rise, like multifamily residential towers. So I was working on those for a few years there. And then at the same time, it was figuring out how to start a business.
Which, is just time on your hands at that point, right?
Yeah, right.
But I mean, couldn't imagine a better city for you too than Chicago. I mean, incredible architecture that we're known for, incredible food. So let's keep fast forwarding a little bit here. Hannah, you ended up with BOKA Group. How did that come about?
So when I was in Florida still, I started just looking for jobs around. I came to Chicago for a little vacation and like just loved the city for a little weekend trip. And then I came back to Florida and I was like, okay, I think I want to move there. So I started looking for jobs, and then I got a stage at Girl on the Go. So I flew up here for a weekend again and did a stage there, which was amazing. And then I got the job and I moved here 2 weeks later.
It's fast.
Yeah. I told my parents, I'm like, I'm moving to Chicago. Yeah. So
that's a change.
Yeah. So I started at Girl on the Goat for a few years. When I started working at Girl on the Goat, several months later is when they opened Duck Duck. So I was part of that like opening crew. And then I would help out at Little Goat sometimes too. So I was at like all the goats as the pastry sous chef. And then after that, I worked at Marisol for a little bit. It was in the Museum of Contemporary Art with Jason Hamill. So that was a great experience. And then after that, went to BOKA Flagship. And that was amazing.
Absolutely incredible. I am a huge Stephanie Izard fan. And I have to say, she's really known for very interesting flavors. Again, I also grew up north of Chicago. Our version of culture was meat and potatoes, right? It only was until I went to college and beyond that, I was able to taste new flavors and try something as simple as hummus and just be blown away by it. And Stephanie especially has brought something to the city and beyond that she can have some wild combinations. So what was that like for you to essentially be under her tutelage and figure out how to play with flavors that way?
Yeah, it was great. I learned so much from working there. Just like coming up with different flavors, like you said, like if you need like something sweet and something sour and then like something crunchy in everything that you eat. So I really just learned about balancing dishes in general and just food in general. When I worked there, the pastry station downstairs, the prep area is like right next to another one of just like the savory prep cooks. And I always just used to watch her making all this stuff throughout the day and learning like how to make like blue cheese aioli, just like random stuff or like empanada filling. I really learned so much about food there as a whole, especially like pickled stuff, pickled everything. But the main thing is just like the complexity of dishes in general.
And, Marisol, and then of course the BOKA flagship under those folks, they are also known for just being incredible fine dining spots, but also different flavors. So what was that like ending up at BOKA?
It was good. I learned a lot there, a lot of classic French techniques, but also just being innovative. The thing about BOKA is it is honestly like a machine. I mean, they have a Michelin star, but the amount of covers we would do sometimes is insane. So it's like high volume plus fine dining. So if you can do both of those things, you can do anything. I think you can work anywhere. So they really got it down.
Definitely prepared you for what Tilly is today.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, this is not only a business story and a bagel story, but the two of you are now married. This is a love story. Would you mind telling us how you met? And in the time that you became partners, what made you decide that you wanted to build a business together?
So we actually met on a dating app.
Classic.
So I moved to here from Florida. I lived here for a year, and then I got on a dating app, as a lot of people do in this day and age. So we met there, and yeah, I think we are working opposite schedules, pretty much like our entire relationship.
Yeah, until COVID.
Yeah.
Where Hannah's weekend would be like Monday, Tuesday, and then her busy days would be the weekend. And I had more of the 9 to 5 kind of Monday through Friday office hours, but then I'd be free on the weekend. So we pretty much had opposite schedules, but we had some overlap. It was just like we had to make it work in those off hours between the shifts type of thing, where we'd go to different restaurants around the city or different bars and just hang out and just talk about the challenges in our careers. And I would say both of our careers had creative backgrounds where, there isn't like really like a rule book in terms of what you're supposed to do or not do, and you're making your path as you go. So that's something that we would relate to a lot when we were, I guess, starting out.
And during that time, we would always kind of joke about...
We did, yeah.
Like having a bagel shop, but it wasn't really like a true reality until COVID.
That was about, like 3 or 4 years before we actually started getting serious about the business. We joked about it, and then it ended up actually happening.
The power of manifestation is real. So why bagels? I mean, obviously you come from a pastry chef background. Folks love carbs, but why bagels specifically and not say a patisserie or something along those lines?
Yeah, personally, I love bagels. Growing up, I am from Florida, but there are like a decent amount of bagel shops. I don't know if it's New York transplants coming to Florida or what, but there's like a decent amount. I used to have this bagel place that I would go to all the time. And then when I moved here, I was like, there's not like a ton of bagel places, at least in the city. There's some up north in the suburbs and stuff, but there's not like a ton in the city. So I just started making them because I have a history of bread experience. So I was like, I'm going to try to make a bagel just for fun. So I came up with this recipe, not this one technically, but a recipe. And then just started making them for friends and family. And where I really thought, oh, these are actually good is when I made them for staff meal one time at BOKA. Mm-hmm. I made like a whole bunch of them and it was a huge hit. And I was like, oh, well, I guess these are kind of good.
Those are definitely some hard people to please.
Yeah, for sure.
And then COVID happened, and then she started making them at home for me, other friends in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that was like when the lockdowns had started and the restaurants were closed down. So I was working from home and Hannah was furloughed at the time and just working out the recipe. And that's really where the taste testing came into play, where she would be making different batches of like sourdough bagels and I would be trying them out all the time. That's kind of how it started.
Did either of you ever picture yourselves as entrepreneurs?
I don't know. I always dreamed of being just like an executive pastry chef.
There you go.
But I guess never really thought about owning my own business, really. So it kind of just happened.
I've always wanted to be the owner like of a plot of land or something and then build something on it, like be the developer, but also the architect for it. It just so happens that trying to buy land in Chicago is prohibitively expensive. It's actually easier to start a bagel business than it is to do that. But that's the ultimate eventual goal for me personally, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
I could see it, and I could see like a Tilly location on that land. And
there you go, right? On the
beautiful. Are you outdoorsy people where you'd like a farm or something on that land?
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
A little farm.
Yeah. More and more we talk about like getting out into the country for a little bit. Maybe just because we're downtown all the time right now and glued to the shop. But
yeah,
there is an appeal to being out in the nature.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm telling you, these bagels are so good. Everyone wants some. Any location, truly. So you're in COVID, you decide, what if we started testing selling these bagels? And one of your first customers is my partner, Tim, who might be your biggest fan, if I'm not number two. Yeah. You know, we weren't living together quite yet at that time. He's like, Dad, go pick up the Tilly bagels. Or Hannah was coming by on her bike and dropping them off. Yeah. And again, Tilly came off of your last name, correct, Hannah?
Yes. Yep.
Like a fun nickname?
Yeah, growing up in like sports and everything, Tilly would be a nickname for me. It's also the name of our sourdough starter too.
So how did you name it? Is that common to name a starter?
It is, yeah. In any sourdough bakery or any bakery in general, if they have a sourdough starter, you should ask them what the name of it is. Because every place I've ever worked that has a sourdough starter, they all have names. So I named this one Tilly. It is a rendition of Adrian, which is one of my old starters a long time ago that I got from previous pastry chef. But yeah, but now it's Tilly.
It's a descendant.
I was going to say, it's almost like a Pokemon evolution. Adrian grew into Tilly.
Yeah. When Tilly's like 18 years old now.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So how many times did it take for you to test that recipe and say, this is the perfect bagel? And also, why a sourdough bagel?
Yeah, it took me a few times to get the recipe down. As far as the dough, I kind of took like a bagel recipe and then added the sourdough into it, took out some of the yeast, like the regular yeast, instant yeast or whatever in the recipe, replaced it with more sourdough. So that was a little challenging trying to find like the good consistency for it.
And so how you're defining this is the Chicago style bagel. So folks know the New York style bagel, of course, also delicious in its own way, but it's known for that brininess because of the water specifically in New York. You'll see other bagel shops, even in Chicago and other cities, they import that water so they can get the same taste. What made you say that we really need to go against the grain and try something totally different?
Yeah, the main thing is we just didn't want to copy New York. Chicago has all of these amazing foods like Chicago pizza, Chicago hot dog, Italian beef. Why isn't there like a Chicago bagel? So we created this sourdough bagel. And it's pretty different from a New York style. It's much lighter on the inside, kind of has a crispy exterior. And we're really big on like putting a bunch of toppings on the bagels too, like a bunch of cheese or a bunch of like seeds to kind of just make it like big and bold and just to differentiate. But the main thing is we just didn't want to copy New York.
Yeah.
That's pretty common with bagel shops around everywhere. It's always New York style. Like
Pretty much around the world. Yeah. It's like every bagel shop is trying to emulate or mimic New York. And it just felt strange in such a rich food city to try to emulate New York again. It's like, why don't we try something different?
I love that. And it's so important for every city to have its own food identity. And it's a huge part of culture, even though there are so many cultures already mixing in here as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you go from riding your bike around town and popping up in spots like 18th Street Bar. We miss that spot. Being so far away from it now. Anytime we would see you all at the farmers markets, the line is down the street, and I'm sure everyone was very jealous. What did you start to learn during that time when you said, hey, we actually have something people like? We're selling more of it. What were some of those challenges with the growing business before you decided to get into a storefront?
I mean, I think it was just scaling in general at that level. At the time that I was going to the shared kitchen space, which is where I made all the bagels, and I had a sedan, like just a 4-door car. And there was only so many bagels I could take from the kitchen to the farmer's market. And that still was like 1,000 bagels. So it was a lot.
Right. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to go making them at home in your home oven to a commercial scale. It's hard to go legit with it. That's a big step, especially when you don't have that background. So just figuring out all the required things you need to do for the city requirements and just like the different municipalities and like what you need to do for the farmers markets. Finding that kitchen was a big first step. It involved Hannah commuting like 1 hour, one each direction. So there was a pretty big time commitment on top of making all the bagels. I'm pretty sure like she had like an average like 18-hour day every day for a while.
Yeah.
When we were really getting going. But like it was just one of those things that she just put the time in and really believed in it, you know? So that was one of the first steps. And then once we had the kitchen going and she had a routine going, we're able to grow into the farmer's market space. We had such a crazy line that we got relegated to the corner of the farmer's market because people were upset that the line would go in front of all the other booths. So sorry. But
Great problem.
it was just one of those moments where like you're seeing people line up. What time does the market open at? Like 9?
Yeah.
And just seeing people there like a half hour early starting to line up. And then the line basically didn't stop any weekend that we were there until we would sell out, which would be, I don't know, halfway through the market.
Yeah.
We couldn't make any more bagels. We were like, wow, this is actually popular. People like the bagels. So it was good to see what potential customers thought and would try them out. And we appreciated all the feedback as we were learning the ropes there. But after doing that for what was about 2 summers, the right opportunity came along to try to take the next step, like with a physical brick and mortar location.
And this is where we can really hone into on your skill set, Mike. I'd love to hear, I don't know if you've opened a retail store before or anything in food, but what was that like? And how special is it that you can look at every single corner of that store and know that you helped design it?
Yeah, no, it was definitely an interesting challenge. It was a little scary too, because I typically in the past had worked on like towers and things like that focus more on, I don't know, the exterior, like the core and the shell of the building, but not so much like the interior of it. It was the first restaurant space, so trying to make sure that all worked out. But then also just an interior build out was a challenge. But it was really fun. So while we worked through the design, I was putting a lot of blue tape on the ground and walking around with Hannah in the space, being like, all right, where do you want to stand when making the bagels? One of the first things we thought was really important is having just on display, like being able to see the product being made live in front of the customers is something that they can connect to and just see, oh, this is made here. This isn't something that's being like shipped in frozen from international somewhere.
Yeah.
Like this is like something that's local. So that was one of the big design elements that we'd started with. And then we worked on making all the corners rounded just because all the bagels are hand shaped. So we wanted the place to feel like it was natural and just of the earth, like those type of tones, but also like warm and inviting, but also functional for the space. So one of our biggest pet peeves when we go into a bagel shop is the display of how the bagels look. For some reason, everyone has decided that the optimal design is to have this like metal basket that you put the bagels in. Well, we have a ton of seeds on the bagels and they spill out all the time. And it just feels, I don't know, kind of weak. But, we decided we came up with our own bagel wall, we call it, which is front and center when you walk in the space. We have all the bagels in baskets that were used back in the farmers market days that kind of overflow it when you walk in. So it still has that farmers market vibe, local kind of persona when you walk in, but also at a scale that is able to have as many customers as we have nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for folks that don't know the area as well, your first store is in the South Loop, Chicago. So if you're visitors, you would go to the museum campus and Soldier Field nearby. But you're also right in the heart of Columbia College's campus. And you even have student housing next door. When we go in, you can tell there are a lot of young people there. So I also love that the space feels really fresh. It's comfy. It's got great music, good lighting. Everyone's always in a good mood at Tilly Bagel. And it doesn't matter if they're waiting in line. I've seen people in rain, snow, and there are smiles on people's faces. They're taking pictures of the sign. You guys went farmers markets to viral, I'll say, extremely quickly. Even though some people might say, that seems like an overnight success. How long was it actually from the decision of, let's open a retail store, to actually opening it? And what were the decisions behind the core offerings that you have?
About
like a year. Yeah. We went through like the whole process, like with the realtor.
It was like 6 months to find the location.
Yeah.
And just determine like what was the right spot. And then maybe 3 for the actual build out. And then a few months of just like getting everything ready.
So we kept, because like for the farmer's market, I kind of had a limited menu. It was like 6 different bagels. So for the shop, I wanted to expand it. Now we have 12 different flavors. So we have all of the like classic ones, and then we have some cool like different ones thrown in there, which is like kind of our thing, like the cacio e pepe bagel and the tomato grilled cheese bagel. And then of course the bagel of the week that we do, a different bagel every week. We rotate it sweet, savory, spicy. And each week it's different. I've done like a couple same ones, but for the majority of the time, it's a different flavor every week.
And you were doing that at the farmer's market too, weren't you?
A little bit, yeah.
Trying to test it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I would do like a pizza bagel or...
I remember the pizza bagel. It was excellent. It was excellent. Maybe that'll make an appearance again. I know you had it just like a big old spreadsheet for the whole year, which is so smart, just to stay on track.
Yeah.
It inspires some of these flavors. And you've had flaming hot Cheetos. Right now, as of February 2025, you did a beautiful white chocolate strawberry bagel for Valentine's Day in the heart shape. Your cream cheeses are also made on site and are very artisanal. The roasted veggies that you've done, I'm just sitting here listing them and salivating.
Yeah.
So where do you get the feedback to try something new like that? And have there been any that you're like, wow, this went so much better than we thought? And any that you're like, oh, we're going to keep that one on the spreadsheet for next time?
I get a lot of inspiration from just a lot of like CPG items, like in grocery stores. Like if it's like a cool like flavored chip or something that I see, I'm like, oh, that'd be cool, like as a bagel flavor. Like I've done like a ranch bagel before, like a dill or like salt and vinegar. Yeah.
And I think what's a little bit different too is Hannah mixes these ingredients directly into the dough, which is a little bit, I would say we've seen other, I don't know, bagel places, they just kind of like put a topping on or something like that, but it's not quite the same. And like the taste isn't quite there. So I think part of the sourdough process is like a 24-hour period when she's making the bagels. And then they sit in the cooler for a while too. But I think that it just allows that flavor to really shine through and develop over time, which kind of aids itself to the sourdough process.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been, I think it's one of those things too, from what I've seen, it keeps it kind of interesting, not just for the customers, like what's the bagel of the week this week, but it's also keeping it fresh for us too, for just having rotating items on and off the menu. It keeps it fun and keeps you engaged. We don't want it to stagnate. So it's fun to keep on our toes and try different things. So we're always open to new bagels, new cream cheeses.
Yeah. I get a lot of inspiration too, like from our staff. Like they'll think of something too, and I'm like, oh, that'd be good, and try it out.
There's no bad idea.
I was going to say, I was thinking of some that weren't very popular. I tried to do like a chili lime one once. That's when I realized that dough doesn't rise very well with lime in the dough.
Yeah.
Like anytime citric acid. Yeah.
So they ended up being very dense compared to the normal like fluffiness of the bagels. So that one wasn't as big of a hit, but I mean, glad we tried it. Some of the cheesier ones are very popular too, I would say. Like any of the bagel of the weeks that have cheese related to them tend to be a big hit.
People love them.
Or like the pretzel cheese, those type of ones.
And again, you guys are using really high quality ingredients. I mean, the bacon that you've got is so peppery and thick cut and amazing. Yeah. You said the cacio e pepe bagel, which is also a favorite in our household. Again, where are you guys sourcing from? That makes it so great.
Yeah, we use King Arthur flour, which is the best. And then, we have like the black pepper bacon. And then we use sausage from Slagle Farms, which is like a local spot.
And then we have other local vendors like Miss Microgreens.
Oh, yeah.
Does all the little like floral like greens that we have on the veggie sandwich. We're actually working with her right now on other variations for some of our other sandwiches. But she has like a whole indoor grow operation for all the different types of microgreens. So it's been fun to try to taste test those with her.
And she supplies microgreens to a lot of like fine dining restaurants around the city too. Also, our coffee program that we have is a Sparrow Coffee, which they also provide coffee for like fine dining restaurants. And it's really cool. We got to work with them and create a Tilly blend with different coffee beans that like pair great with the bagels.
It was definitely a morning where we were at his roastery and we were trying, I want to say it was like 40 different cups of coffee, where it's like take a sip, not the whole cup, but like a sip from each one. But it's try a sip and then take a bite of a bagel back and forth and see what was the right fit.
Yeah, that was cool.
And that was a fun taste testing. And then it was fun. I was still working at my office job at the time, and it was definitely wired after that. But no, that's always fun to work with them too.
I so appreciate, and I think everyone else does too, that you don't skimp on anything. You're not going and getting a McDonald's bagel. Like, this is a Tilly bagel, and it's in the same vein as a fine dining bagel, if you were to find one. So what are those biggest challenges that you've learned over the last year and a half of having the store? There's always someone in there. I'm sure you're also getting a lot more feedback customer service wise, and your hours must be crazy.
Definitely. It's like 24/7 for us.
It's definitely hard to turn off for the day. That really isn't a thing currently. I don't know if it will be a thing. I don't know. But it's definitely a situation where we're always, even if you're at home, or if we're at home, we're still thinking about what's in store for the next day or what's in store for this week or next week. There's always a lot of parts that are moving.
I think the biggest challenge right now is just scaling.
Yeah.
Because we are just so busy all the time. So we're really just trying to make more and more bagels. And it's hard with our current shop because it's only so big, you know.
I think we did a good job with the first store. It's not too big. It's 1,400 square feet. We have about a 20-person team currently. When we first started the store a year and a half ago, we had about 6 of us. So we were not ready, where there was a massive line out the door pretty much from day one. And then that whole time we're trying to figure out how to catch up to the demand. We are at a point now, or we have been at a point for the past like 6 months, let's call it, where we're at capacity with the store, where we can't really make any more bagels per day just because we're out of space. So that's what pushed us into starting to go for the second location, where the kitchen is twice as big, the seating area is twice as big. So the goal is basically to have the ability to make more bagels per day and accept more orders per day. We're pretty much at capacity for walk-in volume on the weekends, but we're looking to have a more robust like online ordering system and catering program as we grow here and have more ability to make just more bagels per day. For the first like 6 months was really rough, I would say. Just trying to like really figure out, like we didn't have any systems yet. Really trying to figure out how did we want to approach every unique situation you could ever think of. Like everything that you can think of that could happen, like has been happening or happens at the store. I would like to believe that nowadays there aren't too many new situations that we haven't experienced before with the one store. So we're pretty confident now that that one is generally solved, and we're scaling for the second one. And that's a completely different challenge because now it's all about really like confiding and trusting the team, because you can't be there as like the emergency to put out the fires at both locations at the same time. But the whole point, is like, it's really about trusting, developing the team for the past year and a half, really trusting and confiding in the team, and just kind of like letting it start to continue to grow and maintain that quality control without always being there is definitely a challenge.
Yeah. I think that is a conundrum that every founder faces at some point or other as they continue to grow, is learning to hand the baby over to people and say, I know I hired you and I know you're super good at your job and you're great at all of these things, but what's going to happen if I'm not doing it? And
Right.
that's where you can really fly from there. And like you said, you'll learn too. Different things are going to happen when you're not in the room, or at some point you guys might not be in the same state as these bagels. You know, what's happening with them. So speaking about your team, you have grown to 20. I know you're about to grow to more with the opening of your Fulton Market location, which is going to be in spring 2025 here. Every person on your team that I've interacted with is incredible. The hospitality that your team just naturally has is so great. And I did read that you offer a 401k program and benefits, and that's not a typical situation when it comes to a small business in food and bev. So what made you decide that was a really important business decision for you, even though it can be a little bit more costly?
Yeah, I think mainly just from me in the past, like working in kitchens, like they don't really offer health insurance. And if they do, it's after like so many years or something. They definitely don't do 401k. I mean, at least for in my experience.
Yeah.
And then also just pay in general too. I think things have changed since COVID with the pay and everything with other restaurants, but we really try to pay like way more than typical restaurants do. Something else we do also is shared tips for everybody in back of house, which is a little unheard of for the back of house. So that's great. It really just boils down to my past experiences in restaurants. Like, how can we make this better than my experience as far as benefits go?
And I think we're looking at it just from like a holistic approach. You know, like the Chicago style bagel, it's different than other bagel shops that people have seen in the past. So the offerings that we're providing for the team are also different than a lot of the other like restaurants or other things that you'll see in the city. We're trying to align that same thought process across the board on everything we do. So that's kind of just been our like mantra as we go, is what can we do to the best of our ability? What can be provided? And we really want the team to succeed as well. It's all about not growth just for ourselves personally, but also for the team personally too. We take, immense pride in the team and everything that they've been doing. And there's a learning curve for all of us as we go through this process together. It's just been such a fun experience as we've been going. And everyone always has an extremely positive attitude. And we just love that vibe. And that's the same vibe. It just radiates through the store. Like you had mentioned earlier, like when people walk in, they're just smiling already. And that's in part, mainly it's from our team and just like their personalities and the things that they're offering as just part of the everyday job. So we want to make sure that they're supported as well for everything that they're contributing to the company.
Yeah. And I think what I'm hoping everyone else will hear in that answer as well is that you both have a sense of personal mission of care. You put care into every single thing you do, the ingredients, the design of the space, your team, and therefore the lucky eaters on this end.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. That is truly awesome. And I hope that people listening to this will use that as an example to say it might feel like an upfront cost now, but it's going to be worth it at the end of the day.
Right.
Taking care of people is always worth it. So what can we expect at the next store here opening up in Fulton Market? Are we going to see any new flavors, any new offerings?
Yeah, the menu will be generally kind of the same. We're going to introduce some different sandwiches. We're going to rework like our current menu, just like revamp like our turkey sandwich and like the veggie one, maybe introduce something else too.
Secret, right?
Yeah. But both shops
Understood.
both shops will have the same bagel of the week at both shops. And then the big thing is we're going to introduce like a new coffee program at some point because we're moving to Fulton Market and, there's not like a ton of breakfast spots there, but there are really good coffee shops. So we kind of want to be able to like not compete, but like we want to be able to offer good coffee drinks for the people of the West Loop.
Right. We offer a hot coffee and cold brew currently, but we don't have an extended coffee program. But one of the most requested items at the store currently is for like lattes or different various espresso, just different drinks that we don't have capability for just because we don't have room for those machines. But the goal is to start to expand into that in this upcoming year. And then as for like the bagel flavors, one of the things that we're working through is the ability to have like customers vote for upcoming bagel of the weeks. We haven't worked through the full program yet. I guess a sneak peek, but we are working on an app right now actually. And like within that app would be like a link that would allow people to vote directly, and it would tell people like what the bagel of the week is each week. But then you'd also be able to vote for upcoming ones, and maybe like once a month or so. There's like the People's Choice bagel. So we're trying to do things that I guess you don't really normally see currently in the market here, but we're trying to keep it, I don't know, as exciting as some of the ideas that we have. We want to be able to bring the customers along with some of these plans. Those are some of the bigger picture things. I don't know if they'll all be in place right at the beginning of the shop rollout, but stay tuned.
I mean, innovation is your game. So this makes total sense that you would do something outside the box like that. And I love it. And I bet other people are going to love it too. How do you want to grow the business over the next few years? Are you thinking about nationwide shipping, locations outside Chicago? What's the dream right now?
The goal is to open in a lot of neighborhoods in Chicago, starting out. Probably like, I don't know how many, but we were thinking like almost every neighborhood in the city.
We were trying to get to like double digits in terms of store numbers throughout the city would be a great goal. And then like once we're at that point, I guess there'll be the next step for like where to evaluate from there. It's just as every step along the way has been, like we were talking about scaling challenges. Like we went from, the house to the shared kitchen to the farmer's market to the one store. Now we're figuring how to solve for the 2 stores. But then when you get to 3, it's like, do you have a new kitchen where you make for all 3 of them, or how do you handle that? So that's definitely like the steps as we go. But I think once we get to a certain number of stores, that would be something we'd be looking into, like a central space that feeds into each of the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, Hannah's from Florida, and she always talks about wanting a store in Florida in her hometown. So we'll have to figure out the logistics on that one.
All of my family is always like, oh, you need to franchise. I'll do a franchise for you down here for one. And I'm like, I don't know. So I don't know if we'd ever get to franchising.
Yeah.
But definitely multiple locations.
It's one of those things where we want to make sure we maintain the quality. Like I think we would hate to see, I don't know, there's just certain brands that you see like after a certain amount of time, you go back one time and all of a sudden it's different. And like, it's because all the ingredients are cheaper now, or I don't know, there's just like a change. There's like a shift. You're not really sure why you don't like it anymore, but you don't. And then you stop going. That's something that we strongly want to avoid. We definitely want there to be that local connection, even if it does grow beyond us being there like day to day, we still want that same general idea, right? And like that same welcoming vibe, the different offerings, the community engagement side of it. That's something that we're very big on. So one of the challenges is figuring out how to instill that sense into all the future locations as you grow.
Yep. Well, if you do come to Columbus,
Definitely in Cleveland. We can work down from Cleveland.
come on down to Ohio. We would happily franchise your store, or just we would happily work for you. We'd quit our jobs. So final questions here. What's your best piece of advice for anyone wanting to get into this space, whether they're wanting to be a food creator themselves or start a restaurant or a retail space?
Mine would be to work with someone who has a different vision than you, or not vision, but like a different way to see the vision. With me and Mike, we work so well together because I'm like the food person and he's like the business architect. But we do still have some similarities with just the creativeness in general. But yeah, I would say he's more businessy though, and I'm like more food centric. And just like working with, like if I were to work with someone who like just does food too, I'm not sure if it would like work great.
Yeah.
You need that other advice from them.
And one of those things we've found over the past few years as we've been going is it's helpful to have someone like Hannah's working on the business, but also working in the business, like basically like day-to-day operations type stuff. She's looking at it like each day, each week at a time and helping solve those types of problems. And I'm also looking at it kind of bigger picture. Are we aligning with our goal a month out or 6 months out or a year out from now or 5 years out from now? Are we moving in that direction? So just having someone that's looking at it like big picture wise versus like day-to-day wise has been very helpful for us. Sometimes we butt heads on it, but we always come to a consensus. I mean, one way or another, it generally resolves.
I feel like that's you both saying like, sometimes we wear CEO hats, sometimes we wear COO hats, sometimes we're cooks, sometimes I keep the register. And that is true entrepreneurship, is wearing all of those hats and saying, well, you're better at these hats and I'm better at these hats. And finding those complementary skills is perfect. It's a great way to go throughout life in any type of partnership.
Absolutely. One of the other things too, just on the topic that we'd recommend for people is like, don't go too big too fast. We recommend kind of starting at a pace that you can manage. And we highly recommend to not give up equity in what you're doing either. That's another, I think, a thing that we see is there's always like a partnership where all of a sudden you aren't even like the majority owner of your own business, just an effort to get it off the ground. We see that, I guess, a lot in restaurants in general. Like, that's just that type of relationship, right? Where there's like the restaurant, the chef, and then the financial partner. We, if possible, recommend if there's a path to find out how to finance through other means where you don't have to give up equity, that's something that we'd recommend.
Yeah. Also, just like you said, like don't go too big too fast too on the production standpoint too. Like don't do wholesale off the bat if you don't want to. People ask us all the time for wholesale, and I'm just like, no.
That was a very early decision that we made.
No, just focus on what you're doing. Don't do too much. Don't be doing crazy stuff that doesn't even...
And make sure to, test out your product in the market and make sure that it resonates with the market. I think sometimes there's certain companies or certain businesses that are trying to push something, but then like nobody's really asking for that or nobody really wants that, for example. But if you just tried incrementally testing that or introducing the product, whatever it may be, as you went along, you would get valuable feedback and kind of tweak and iterate as you go. I guess those are just common things that we see sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's all such good advice. One, I mean, everyone wants everything to go faster than it can or should, because we just want to be at the top of the mountain, whatever that is, when you're building something totally new. So that is incredibly valuable. Also, not giving up your business to other people unless they are truly the dream partner is so important. I can't watch Shark Tank. Those deals to me, I'm like, I get it. This is an awesome PR moment, but when they're saying 30% of your company for X amount and the amount is way too small, I just cringe. So thank you for telling people that, because like you said, I think it's a common mishap. And sometimes it works out for people, but a lot of the time, those outside partners who you didn't even choose to begin with, you don't have that natural sense of trust. It can cause some big issues, especially when you're putting together paperwork and all the fun things that you have to do legally. Well, let's change over to the best and also world's hardest question for both of you. So on this podcast, The Perfect Bite, it is a perfect bite essentially of my career to this date, which has been entrepreneurship and working with folks in food. And everyone has their own perfect bite, a memory, a moment, whether it's from childhood, maybe it's just this perfect street food that you had sometime on a vacation, or the first time that you went to a really fancy restaurant, or maybe a special date. I'd love to hear from both of you. What is your perfect bite?
So for me, my perfect bite, I will never forget. I just started working at Girl on the Go. I lived like kind of in the West Loop area, and I went to dinner at Momotaro, and it was my first time ever doing omakase. I didn't even really know what it was. I just ordered it, and it came out with all of this nigiri. It was so good. And then when I tried the otoro for the first time, I was like, this is incredible. And that's like my favorite food now, which is like kind of bougie, but otoro is my favorite. I just love it so much. Also, the Monk's Journey cocktail from
That's good.
Caro is probably like my second perfect bite because it's the best cocktail of all time.
What's in it?
It's matcha, vodka, mint, and I think there might be like some aloe or something in it, but it's just so refreshing. It's so crisp. If they ever take it off the menu, like there's going to be some problems.
We're going to riot. We're busting the doors.
It's so good.
And then my perfect bite, I don't know if this is a cop-out answer or not, but my perfect bite is pretty much anything that Hannah has made by hand, for me. She kind of opened my eyes into what can be done in the food world, like what's possible. And it's just, I don't know, insanely impressive. So to me, like anytime that she's making something, I know it's going to be good. So I don't know, that's always my perfect bite. So my perfect bite just happens like every day.
It's so sweet. Oh my goodness. That's just not a cop-out answer at all. So many brownie points. Oh my goodness. Hannah and Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. You guys are so incredible. You've had an amazing story. Congratulations on all the success you've had so far. I can't wait to see Tilly take over the world and see how far you two can go. Everyone, thank you so much for listening in. This was Hannah Tillet-Banaszak and Mike Banaszak's Perfect Bite.
Thanks for tuning in to The Perfect Bite today. You can listen to future episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks in advance for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. You can follow The Perfect Bite on social media @PerfectBitePod. Now go get something good to eat.